So recently, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's fair of me to say there has been a lot of focus on the UK and the woke insanity that has been going on, and rightly so. You know, it needs to be spoken about and called out. A lot of people don't even know what's going on because half the time, the MSM, the news, they don't talk about it. You won't ever see these stories that I'm going to be talking about today on the TV for obvious reasons. You can't disrupt the narrative. It goes against the agenda. You know, we simply cannot have that. Nah. Absolutely not. But these two stories today, man, they are absolutely insane. Firstly, I'm going to be talking about a mother in the UK, England, who was banned from her daughter's primary school for complaining about how gender issues were being taught to students. What the actual... And then secondly, and by the way, trust me, it doesn't get any better, but according to the Telegraph, police have been accused of misleading a minister over the signs that were held at the recent protests that were threatening women. Essentially, they said no threatening signs were being held at the recent demonstrations in Parliament Square. Do they think everybody's like Stevie Wonder or something? Most likely. But before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, if you could, make sure to leave a like rating, as it really helps out the video, helps it get pushed out further in the algorithm. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, comment on this video, share this video, follow my socials down below in the description, and let's get into this insanity. It's a great time. Yeah, that's the headline I'm about to read out. I'm gonna lose brain cells. The thought of reading it out is already hurting my head, but as you can see, it says mother banned from daughter's primary school for complaining about trans identity lessons. Here we go. A mother was banned from the playground by her daughter's primary school after complaining that children as young as 9 were having their transgender identity affirmed by teachers. What are we doing here? How do kids as young as 9 apparently know about this stuff, and why are teachers affirming it? Clearly, we've got a lot of issues here, and you know what, just thinking about it now, and I'm being serious, you know all those women that went into space recently, who was it, Katy Perry and all those other people, right, if anybody with any sort of money, and I'm talking billionaires watching this video, I'm being serious, send me into space in my own pod, and I'm going to save you money, by the way, because don't worry about bringing me back, I'll float in space for the rest of my life. I don't want to come back to this place. It's so tiresome. It really is. Kids as young as 9 are having their transgender identity affirmed by teachers. If this is true, these teachers need to be fired. Karina Conway, 42, was said to have complained about the way gender issues were being taught to pupils at Sunnyside Spencer Academy in Beeston, Nottingham. The mother of 2 claimed the school was teaching 11-year-olds that transgender identity was a protected characteristic, when the Equality Act makes no mention of it. Kids do not need to be taught this stuff. They don't need to be told this stuff. Where is the common sense here? Clearly non-existent. But she was ordered to stay away from the playground for 8 months in September 2024, and then was told she could only return if she didn't criticize the school online, the Telegraph reported. What happened to freedom of speech in this country? And people want to tell me it still exists? Right. A school is telling a mother not to criticize what they're doing, or she can't come back. What an absolute disgrace. The teachers, however, had previously called the police in 2023 when Miss Conway and women's rights activist Kelly J. Keane staged a protest outside the school because, you know, police need to be called to something like that. Just a waste of time, really, isn't it? How about don't teach the kids this stuff and you won't be causing controversy. But anyway, Miss Conway told the Telegraph the trust is silencing the voices of parents who know sex is real, and when it matters, it really matters. Completely agree. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, when you speak out against this stuff. You have to agree with everything. And as soon as you don't, and you complain and you're like, wait, hold on, this shouldn't be going on in a school, well, it's you that must face the consequences. She was said to have first raised a complaint when she learned the school had allegedly taught pupils that transgender identity was a protected characteristic. Again, why is this being taught in schools? The Equality Act does not reference the disputed idea of gender identity, instead stating that a person must not be discriminated against because of gender reassignment. I miss normal times, ladies and gentlemen. Do you? But there is the mother there wearing a jumper, whatever, with "Teach ABC, not gender identity." Completely agree there. In June 2023, the year before the ban, an Ofsted inspection took place, and Miss Conway used the opportunity to express her concerns to an inspector. She was advised to make a complaint, but alleged that nothing happened. Of course, Miss Conway consequently made a subject access request to Ofsted, asking for all correspondence relating to her family between the inspectorate, the school, and Spencer Academy's trust, which runs the school. It forced Ofsted to disclose a document revealing a call had taken place with the head teacher prior to the inspection, in which the school described Miss Conway as a parent expressing she does not want her child to be exposed to gender identity and has transphobic views. You don't want your kids learning about this stuff and other kids as well learning about this stuff, and you have transphobic views. Welcome to the UK, ladies and gentlemen. We're more liberal than you can imagine. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I miss normal times when people weren't actually, snowflakes, but there you have the first story. A mother was banned from the daughter's primary school for complaining about trans identity lessons. This is what is being taught, and I imagine across many schools, because it's not just going to be this school here, and somehow, some way, they continue to be allowed to teach it. Yet we have these politicians, like the Tories, and everybody else who is coming out and saying, oh, this needs to stop, this needs to end. What are you doing about it? Clearly, I can't swear, nothing. But let's move on to our next story in the UK, where left is right, up is down, and common sense, a lot of the time, is hard to find. Now, for those of you that don't know about this story, recently the UK Supreme Court ruled that legally trans women aren't women, and this sent the woke activists into a total meltdown. So again, there were protests, thousands of people turned up, and at these protests, certain signs were being held up by a few individuals that were threatening women. It's very interesting to me, because you never see these signs at other protests, where people are pushing back against this woke nonsense and they're airing their concerns. It is always at these woke protests you see these sort of signs. And then they want to sit there and go, oh, I don't know why people feel so concerned about men going into women's spaces, but you have people holding up signs threatening women. Can you not see why people would be concerned? But the Telegraph have gone ahead and reported that the police misled a minister about violent threats by trans protesters. Of course they have. But the Met Police have been accused of misleading a minister over violent placards at a trans rights protest. Officers from the London Force told Dame Deanna Johnson, the policing minister, that no threatening signs were on display at Saturday's demonstration in Parliament Square. This led her to insist in interviews there was no evidence the law had been broken. In fact, several were visible, including two with hangmen and slogans such as "the only good turf is a," implying gender-critical feminists should die. Another urged opponents to perform a DIY lobotomy on themselves, while one appeared to show bullet holes alongside the message, "I will make you listen." Clearly, no threatening signs were held up whatsoever. None at all. Nah, again, they think everybody's like Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. I don't think so. Let's check out a couple of these signs, shall we? Somebody on X goes on to post, I think women should feel afraid. The aggression and violence of these signs at the trans march are not about protest. They are not about equality. They are about a deep and violent hatred of women, and the government is silent about it. Why is that? Because it goes against the narrative. And let's check out these signs, shall we? There you see, the only good turf is a turf, and we all know what they're implying there. You have bring back witch burning, ... JK, which is obviously implying JK Rowling, just because she speaks out against this stuff. And then you have this one here, where it says, "I will make you listen." I mean, when somebody says, "I will make you listen," they mean they're going to force you to listen. But Chris Phillips, the shadow policing minister, described the Met's misleading briefing as deeply alarming. Of course it is, and added that any suggestion of unequal treatment of protesters risk fueling accusations of two-tier policing. I mean, it's not an accusation, it's the truth. Because if this was the other way round, and people were holding up signs that were, sending threats to another community, for example, the trans community, would those people still be walking around right now? No, they would have been investigated and arrested. And those are just the facts. He said it is deeply alarming that the Met Police provided misleading information to both the government and journalists. The police are quick to jump on certain protesters. They should be just as vigilant about these ones, or we risk two-tier policing. I don't think you're risking it. We already have it. Threats of violence towards women by pro-trans protesters are completely unacceptable, and the perpetrators should be identified and prosecuted. They won't be. The Met initially said it had reviewed images of threats against women posted on social media and found they were either old from other parts of Britain or not criminal. But it retracted this claim after being shown evidence by the Telegraph that threatening placards were in fact from the London protest. The Met is now reviewing the images as well as speaking to witnesses and examining CCTV. Again, nothing is going to happen. I will repeat, if this was the other way around and people were holding up signs threatening the trans community, for example, the women who celebrated the Supreme Court case, if they were holding up signs similar to what these people were holding up, they would be arrested. People need to be treated equally. You can't keep being more lenient towards these woke activists because you just send the wrong message. And I'll also say I stand by the statement I made right at the beginning of this video. If any billionaire manages to watch this video, send me into space. don't worry about bringing me back. I'll just float there for the rest of my life. But leave your thoughts down below about both stories. Firstly, the mother getting banned from her daughter's playground for complaining about the woke nonsense that was being taught, and then police apparently misleading a minister about the signs that were being held up. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, share this video. But until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out.